Welcome back, dear listeners, to Half Haunted. I'm your host, Candi, and I'm with my lovely co-host, Raji. Hi, Raj.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I think my headband's straight now. I don't know. I look. It's okay.
Well, you look beautiful.
Thank you. So do you.
Thank you. So tonight, we step into places of forgotten souls, hospital and asylums where the line between medicine and madness blur. Buildings that were once meant to heal but become places of horror. From gruesome lobotomies to unmarked graves, the echoes of the past still whisper through the corridors. Some say the spirits remain because they were never given peace. Others believe the walls themselves have absorbed the screams, the sorrow, and the suffering. Whatever the truth is, the past is never silent.
No, it's not.
So, it is not. That is true. Located on Hathorne Hill in Danvers, Massachusetts, Danvers State Hospital was a foreboding Gothic structure that looked more like a castle than a place of healing. However, inside, it was anything but a sanctuary. Danvers was one of the first hospitals to perform lobotomies, a brutal procedure meant to cure insanity, but instead left patients with empty shells, unable to speak, move, or even remember their past selves. That's so sad.
That is.
After closing in 1992, the reports of hauntings began. Footsteps in empty hallways, shadow figures flickering in the doorways, unexplained slamming doors. Even after part of the hospital was converted into apartments, residents experienced flickering lights, whispers, and unsettling sensation of being watched. Did the suffering leave something behind? Another Massachusetts institute is Metropolitan State in Waltham, was meant to be a modern mental health facility, but became a place of confinement and despair. Over 350 patients were buried in unmarked graves, reduced to numbers rather than names. Their identities are erased even in death. In 1978, Anne Marie Davy mysteriously vanished. Months later, another patient, Melvin W. Wilson, was found hiding a human bone. When authorities searched the grounds, they uncovered Anne-Marie's dismembered remains, which Wilson had buried in multiple locations, keeping some parts as souvenirs. Today, ghost hunters and visitors report shadow figures moving through the halls, echoes of screams from the electric shock therapy rooms, unexplained flashes of light, a ghostly woman in the administrative building believed to be Anne-Marie. Overwhelming sadness and fear remains palpable. Haunted asylums tap into our deepest fears, not just ghosts, but of losing control, being trapped, and being forgotten. Whether the hauntings are real or just guilt made manifest, one thing is certain: when you walk through these ruins, you feel something watching and something waiting. Yeah, I don't know that I would live in a state hospital turned into apartments. There's a lot of craziness with that. So, we're going to go over to Overbrook Asylum, which is in New Jersey. Originally designed to be a place of refuge for the mentally ill, Overbrook Asylum became infamous for a chilling disaster and reports of relentless paranormal activity. During a brutal winter in 1917, Overbrook's heating system failed. 32 patients suffered from severe frostbite and 24 froze to death. The incident exposed the institution's neglect and sent shockwaves through the community. That's so sad. Visitors report whispers and cries from unseen entities. Mysterious dark shapes appear in peripheral visions. Many claim to have captured the ghostly forms on camera. One urban explorer filmed what appeared to be a four-legged figure, adding to the asylum's disturbing reputation. The asylum was featured in the movie Choke, where the crew members reported ghostly encounters, including sightings of a ghostly gray-haired woman who vanished into the walls. Even after its closure in 2007, Overbrook's legacy and suffering continues to fuel its haunted reputation. Now, Greystone Park Psychiatric Hospital is located in Morristown, New Jersey. This hospital was a massive institution, once the largest building in the United States before the Pentagon. Its history is a mix of grandeur, overcrowding, and eerie supernatural legacy. Opened in 1876, Greystone was built to house thousands of patients. Overcrowding and mistreatment eventually overshadowed its original purpose. Folk singer Woody Guthrie was one of the most well-known patients. He dubbed the hospital gravestone during his time battling Huntington's disease. Oh. Full-bodied apparitions and shadowy figures peering from the windows, flashes of light, glowing orbs appearing in darkened rooms. Objects like a planter in the basement have reportedly moved on their own. Many visitors describe an overwhelming sense of being watched, particularly in the hospital's abandoned wings. The hospital was demolished in 2015, but reports of hauntings persist. Some believe the spirits of former patients refuse to leave. What is it about asylums like Overbrook and Greystone that continue to be haunted? Is it just a legend, or is there something more? Whether the hauntings are supernatural or psychological, the tragic histories of Overbrook and Greystone ensure that their stories and perhaps their spirits will never be forgotten.
In New York, Mary Mallon's tragic and controversial tale cemented Riverside Hospital's legacy in American medical history. Mary was an symptomatic carrier of typhoid fever, unknowingly infecting 53 people and causing 3 deaths while working as a cook. Since she showed no symptoms, she refused to believe she was the cause of the outbreak. In 1907, Mary was quarantined at Riverside Hospital, but later released under the condition that she never work as a cook again. That'll work. Despite this, she resumed cooking, leading to new outbreaks. When authorities tracked her, she was forced to North. Mary spent her final 20 years confined to Riverside Hospital, dying there in 1938. To this day, she remains one of the most infamous figures in American medical history, an icon of both public health fears and the medical ethics debates. Though Riverside Hospital was abandoned decades ago, eerie reports suggest something or someone still lingers. Oh, it's her.
It's her. It's still cooking. I wouldn't take a grilled cheese from her, though.
Hells no. No, thank you. Even though the kitchens have been abandoned for decades, could this be a supernatural trace of Mary's presence? Unlike many hundreds of locations, North Brother Island is off limits to the public, shrouding it in mystery. However, there are discussions about opening it for historical tours, which could bring more supernatural encounters to light. For now, the hospital remains a forbidden relic of New York's dark medical past, a place where disease, suffering, and restless spirit of Typhoid Mary still roam.
And her cooking.
Woo! I don't even want to pack a lunch. I just stepped on Brother Island. You know what I mean? Nah, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
While I've heard of the name, but never knew the backstory. Rolling Hills Asylum is considered one of the most haunted locations in the United States, with reports of shadowy figures, ghostly voices, and unexplained phenomena. Among the spirits said to roam its halls, a few stand out. Rolling Hills Asylum is also in New York. Nurse Emmy, a malevolent spirit, Nurse Emmy, is rumored to have ties to black magic and satanic ritual. Visitors report an oppressive energy in her old room, which objects moving on their own. Many describe a palpable sense of dread that makes him want to leave immediately. The Christmas room. This oddly decorated room is supposed to be cheerful, but instead it exudes a sinister aura. Paranormal investigators often hear children's laughter, though some suspect it's not really children at all. Some believe a demonic entity lurks here, posing as a child to lure people in. The morgue. One of the most active areas in Rolling Hills, the morgue has an overwhelming sense of unease. Visitors report sudden dizziness and nausea as if overcome by unseen forces. A particularly chilling sight, a suit spinning inexplicably on a hanger with no logical explanation. Rolling Hill's most famous ghost, Roy Krause, was a 7-foot-tall man who lived and died at the asylum. All right. Unlike the more sinister spirits, Roy is said to be a harmless and gentle soul. His shadowy figure has been spotted in the men's ward, and paranormal investigators even captured his lifelike image in a photograph. Like many other haunted asylums, continues to captivate our imaginations. But why do these institutions seem to hold on to their past so strongly? Paranormal investigators believe places marked by extreme suffering, fear, and death absorb emotional imprints. These residual energies manifest as voices, apparitions, and unsettling sensations. More than just ghosts, These places remind us of how society once treated its most vulnerable, locking them away and forgetting them. Some believe that our collective guilt and fear fuel these hauntings, keeping the stories and spirits alive.
Mm-hmm. That's sad, though. People do that. They just rolled them there and left them and forgot about them. It's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to Illinois, to the Ashmore Estates. I actually been here before and went on the haunted tour. Ashmore Estates, a site steeped in history, hardship, and paranormal mystery. Originally opening as the Coles County Poor Farm in 1916, the property was a refuge for the elderly, disabled, and impoverished. Despite its self-sustaining village-like setup, conditions were far from ideal. Unsanitary food, vermin infestations, and harsh living conditions plagued its residents. By 1959, the facility transitioned into Ashmore Estates, a private psychiatric hospital, but its struggles persisted until it closed in 1986. The lingering tragedy and resilience of those who lived and died there have left an imprint, one that paranormal investigators believe fuels its reputation as one of Illinois' most haunted locations. So that's true. So the notable hauntings here, there's a couple of people that are pretty famous at this estate. It's Elva Skinner. The legend of Elva Skinner is among the most enduring stories tied to the land, even though her death predates Ashmore Estates itself. In 1880, 5-year-old Elva lived on the property when it was still part of the original poor farm. One winter morning, while warming herself by the fire, her clothes caught flame, leading to severe burns that ultimately took her life. Visitors and investigators have reported hearing a child's voice crying for her mother, often captured through electronic voice phenomenon, EVPs. Others feel like a childlike presence on the second floor and third floors of the hospital. Some argue that since Ashmore Estates wasn't built until decades after Alva's death, she couldn't possibly haunt it. Is her presence a manifestation of suggestion or folklore, or is her spirit tied to the land itself? Another famous ghost there is Joe Bloxam, a man who dedicated 15 years of his life to the poor farm. In 1921, Joe met a tragic end when he was struck by the train on his way home. His badly injured body was brought to the boiler room for warmth, but he succumbed to his injuries there. Paranormal activity, visitors report shadowy apparitions moving through the boiler room. Some have experienced physical sensations, scratches, cold touches, and feelings of being watched. Paranormal teams have captured EVPs and a gruff male voice, believed to be Joe's, warning intruders to leave. Poltergeist activity is common. Objects, including light bulbs, have reportedly been thrown at visitors. Even seasoned ghost hunters have left the boiler room shaken. Ashmore Estates has become a hot spot for ghost hunters, with reports of unexplained activity piling up over the years. Ashmore Estates remains one of the most active paranormal locations, drawing both believers and skeptics alike. There are spirits Elva and Joe truly lingering in the afterlife, or are these legends products of suggestion or fear? Is the paranormal activity a genuine imprint of past suffering, or is there a psychological reaction to the dark and tragic history? One thing is for certain, when you step inside Ashmore Estates, you feel something's watching you and something's waiting. I actually visited this place it was a year ago. And I went there at night. And when they say the boiler room is haunted, I truly believe that. We heard EVPs and there was a lot of activity there. But I think it was the second story there, I saw a shadow figure. And you feel like people are watching you. The moment you step in that building, I saw a shadow, but I truly believe it's haunted. I mean, I experienced stuff there in the boiler room, the third floor, the light in the hallway at the end. Nobody was down there and it kept flickering on and off. So if you ever want to, they do tours. You just have to go to the Google Ashmore Estate and you'll be able to see it during the day or at night. So yeah, this place is haunted in my opinion. So from there, we're going over to Indiana. So Central State Hospital originally opened in 1848 as a small mental health facility. Central State was meant to provide a sanctuary for those deemed insane by society, but as it expanded to house over 3,000 patients by the 1920s, conditions deteriorated. Reports of inhumane treatment, filthy living conditions, and brutal restraints haunt its history. Even after the hospital closed in 1994, its tragic legacy lingers, and many believe that the spirits of those who suffer here have truly never left. Central State's underground tunnels became the stuff of legend. Some patients were reportedly confined in tunnels, treated more like prisoners and patients. Lady, as they deemed it, a ghostly nurse in a red cape has been spotted warning visitors that they don't belong. Well, look, if I see a red lady with a cape and she says I don't belong, I'm out. The spirit of Alvin, exactly, I'm out. Say less. A former patient who vanished mysteriously only to be found years later dead in a crawl space. Visitors hear cries, moans, and phantom footsteps, often feeling watched by unseen eyes. One of the most active paranormal locations at Central State is the power station, is believed to amplify supernatural energy. Visitors report eerie EVPs, including voices pleading, "Go for God's sake," and a chilling "bye." Some investigators have experienced cold spots, pipe clangs, and even physical attacks. Choking sensations in locked rooms, unseen hands grabbing and pushing them, and for those true paranormal encounters, the power station is a must-visit if you dare. So, even the underground holds a sinister reputation. The Grove was a site of a violent murder between two patients. Visitors report chilling screams even when no one is around. The area is known for oppressive energy, with many feeling unseen presence watching them. The emotional weight of the past violence and fear seems to hang in the air, even in areas meant for hospital staff. Paranormal disturbances persist. Disembodied footsteps and slamming doors have been reported, and some have heard eerie laughter believed to be a former nurse. One groundskeeper often heard footsteps approaching him even though he was alone in a glass-walled room. Another frequently encountered entity is the crying woman. Visitors often hear unexplained sobbing from empty rooms. Shadowy figures have been seen moving in the halls, vanishing upon approach, or when approached. One investigator captured a mist-like figure gliding through the corridors. Not all spirits at Central State are passive. A maintenance worker in the power station reported a terrifying choking sensation while trapped in a locked room. When others arrived, they found red marks on his neck, but no sign of an attacker. Was it Alvin, the Red Lady, or something darker lurking in the depths of Central State? Central State Hospital has drawn investigators from all over the country. From EVPs to full-body apparitions, the evidence of supernatural activity is compelling. That is crazy. Haunted asylums like Central State Hospital capture our fears and fascinations, but what makes these institutions so powerful in the paranormal realm? Central State Hospital is more than an abandoned building. It's a reminder of a troubled past and a hotspot for paranormal intrigue. One thing is certain, when you step inside Central State Hospital, you don't leave alone. Yeah, I don't know about the crawling space and dead body there. I don't. That's just weird.
And can you imagine there was air conditioning?
And heat. It was hot and musty,
Lordy, please. No, we are off to Italy. Yes, I've seen a documentary about this one. Poveglia Island, one of the most haunted places on earth. Poveglia Island in Italy is a place where plague victims, executed soldiers, and tormented asylum patients met their end. Poveglia has earned its reputation as an island of death.
Dun, dun, dun.
Though abandoned since 1968, whispers, wails, and shadowy figures continue to draw paranormal investigators and thrill seekers. But is Poveglia truly cursed, or is it simply a graveyard of history? Poveglia's dark history began as early as Roman times, when it was used as a quarantine site during plagues. However, it was during the Black Death in the 18th century that its infamy reached horrifying levels. Entire ships filled with infected victims were sent to Poveglia, where the sick lived out their final agonizing days. I'm kind of in disgust right now. In a desperate attempt to contain the disease, living victims were thrown into fiery pits. Visitors claim to hear the screams of plague victims echoing across the island. The so-called burning grounds were known for their unsettling atmosphere, where many report an overwhelming sense of dread and sorrow. Even centuries later, Poveglia's soil is said to be composed of 50% human, a chilling reminder of its past. The plague wasn't the only horror to stain Poveglia's soil with blood and death. The Napoleonic Wars, the island was fortified as a military outpost. Captured enemies were executed, many alive, adding to the island's growing legacy of suffering. Soldiers stationed on the island reported strange occurrences, with many refusing to stay there overnight. I don't blame them. Today, ghostly figures in military uniforms are still seen marching along the shore, forever trapped between the living and the dead. In 1922, Poveglia entered a new era of horror and secrecy when a psychiatric hospital was built on this land under the infamous Dr. Damon Nikolaevich. Patients endured barbaric treatments, including experimental lobotomies. Tortured and isolated, many patients claimed to see spirits of plague victims, but their cries were ignored. Driven mad by the ghosts of the island, the doctor either jumped or was pushed from the bell tower. Oh, good for him. Some say Miss strangled him as he fell. Hey, that's what. To this day, visitors report seeing shadows near the bell tower, and many believe Nikolaevich's spirit still roams the abandoned. They ain't letting him roam shit. After what he did, they ain't letting him. You know what they're letting him do? They're pushing him off. They're strangling him in the air repeatedly, over and over and over for the rest of his dead life.
Yeah.
Anyway, Poveglia made me mad. Reputation as a paranormal hotspot is undeniable, with chilling stories reported by those who dare to visit. Ghostly figures have been spotted wandering the plague fields, believed to be the souls of plague victims. Paranormal investigators have captured EVPs of cries for help, sobs, and ominous whispers. The most chilling message ever recorded: leave now. Those who explore the cremation sites report the sudden, overwhelming stench of burning flesh and hair. Ooh, hair. Woof, hair. The smell disappears as suddenly as it arrives, leaving behind an unnerving silence. Though Poveglia is officially off limits, adventurers and paranormal investigators continue to sneak into the island. Mike Deere, a photographer who visited Poveglia, described it as hauntingly beautiful. An eerie blend of overgrown greenery and crumbling ruins. You know, I do have to say this before I finish the rest. All that death and dying by many innocent people, the ashes, all that. I bet you anything, if you grew food there, it'd be amazing. But I'm not eating it. I'm just saying. It would probably be the most beautiful and colorful fruits and veggies ever, but no, I don't know, it's a weird thought, but that's how I feel. But I wouldn't eat it. Just let it grow and replenish. And even fishermen refuse to cast their nets near Poveglia. Nets frequently pull up human bones. I'm sorry, that came out weird because that's like, oh,
like human bones.
Yeah. Wow. Nets frequently pull up human bones, grim evidence of the island's mass grave history. Some claim the waters are cursed, while others dismiss it as a superstition. In 2014, Italian businessman Luigi Brugnaro leased the island for £400,000, promising to restore derelict buildings and potentially open to the public. But will Poveglia's ghosts allow it? Progress has been slow, and the island remains largely untouched. Some believe attempts to rebuild will disturb the spirits, bringing more paranormal chaos. Others wonder if Poveglia's past will forever make it a place best left forgotten. Will it become a tourist attraction, a luxury retreat, or will Poveglia's ghosts keep it a cursed and forbidden island forever? I would leave it as it. I don't want to build anything on there. A gift shop.
I wouldn't.
But I'm serious. If they were to grow, I would think that would be some amazing fruits and vegetables, but I would never eat them. I think it would be like flowers. You grow them to grow them. Oh, that's pretty, and let them die. And the fishing part, I thought about, because I'm thinking, yeah, the fish probably tastes good right up against that island, but you'd feel guilty. Water's going to change over and flow. We probably had water from Poveglia on our side of the world because water always flows, but still, it's sad. Those black death masks are pretty cool. Didn't they have peppermint in them?
Yeah.
Herbs, but I think one of them was peppermint. All right. I'm ready to travel elsewhere now.
Okay, and we're going to head over to Singapore. Singapore is where one of Asia's most haunted locations stands in eerie silence. The old Changi Hospital, built in 1935 as a hospital and barracks for the British Royal Air Force. It was meant to provide care and shelter, but during World War II, its halls bore witness to the unimaginable horrors. Under the Japanese occupation, the old Changi was taken over by the Japan Secret Police and repurposed into a prison and a torture camp. Even after war, when it resumed its function as a hospital, the shadows of its past never left. And since its abandonment in the 1990s, it has become one of the most notorious paranormal hotspots in the world. The most infamous chapter in Old Changi's history unfolded during World War II when the Japanese used the site as a detention and execution center. Torture and experiments, the prisoners were subjected to gruesome experiments, including biological testing, dismemberment, and psychological torment, and some were even burned alive, their screams said to still echo through the halls today. The beaches near the hospital became mass execution sites, where prisoners were beheaded or shot. Many believe these spirits never found peace, and their restless energy lingers in the area. Even though the hospital later resumed medical function, the imprint of the past never faded. Old Changi Hospital is known for its diverse hauntings, with spirits ranging from tortured prisoners to mysterious supernatural entities. Among the most frequently seen apparitions are a silent child, often sitting alone in the hallways, his vacant stare chilling visitors to the core, a spectral infant wandering the corridors, and its eerie cries breaking the silence of the empty building. Seated in an old wheelchair, this ghostly figure appears suddenly, only to fade into the darkness. But these aren't the only spirits. British, Chinese, Japanese soldiers are said to roam the hospital, adding to its haunting diversity. The beaches near Old Changi Hospital hold their own terrifying secrets. These stories were execution sites during the Japanese occupation where prisoners met brutal fates. Headless apparitions, flying heads have been seen drifting over the sand. Fishermen report ghostly bodies washing up on the shore only to vanish without a trace. Could these spirits be wartime victims, forever trapped in their final moments? Among the most feared entities at the Old Changi is the Pontianak, a vampire ghost from Malaysian and Indonesian folklore. The Pontianak is believed to be a restless spirit of a woman who died at childbirth. Witnesses describe her as having pale skin, red eyes, and long black hair. A strange floral scent often signals her presence until it morphs into the stench of decay. One patient reportedly woke up to the overwhelming smell of flowers, only to find his ward completely emptied. The Pontianak presence adds a cultural depth to Old Changi's hauntings, blending regional folklore with historical tragedy. Over the years, paranormal investigators and explorers have documented eerie experiences at the Old Changi. Ghostly screams, whispers, and muffled coughs are frequently heard in empty wards. Some visitors have captured EVPs. Dark shapes have been seen darting across ceilings and walls, and with some even caught on camera. One investigator saw a shadow figure watching him from a doorway, only to vanish when he turned on a flashlight. Unexplained flickering lights have been reported in empty rooms, as if the building itself is alive with energy. Some explorers claim to feel an unseen presence leading them deeper into the hospital, only for their guide to suddenly disappear, leaving them disoriented and alone. But with many eerie encounters, even skeptics struggle to dismiss the hospital's paranormal reputation. Since the abandonment in the 1990s, the Old Changi has remained off limits to the public, but that hasn't stopped urban explorers and ghost hunters from sneaking inside. Some have attempted to restore the site, but superstition and eerie disturbances stalled the efforts. The Singaporean government has considered repurposing the building, yet no one seems willing to take the risk. I wouldn't take the risk. Could it be that the spirits of the Old Changi refuse to let go of their home? The Old Changi Hospital stands as a monument to wartime horror, suffering, and the supernatural. From executed prisoners and tortured souls to the legendary Pontianak, its corridors are alive with the echoes of the past. But is it truly haunted? Or is its terrifying reputation a reflection of trauma and history? Yeah, ghostly children and apparitional bodies up on the shore. I wouldn't repurpose it. I mean, I'm sure somebody will one of these days, but I would not.
Now we're on our way to England. Hospital, once a workhouse, later a hospital, and now an abandoned relic, stands as a hotbed of paranormal activity. Opening in 1840 workhouse, it was known locally as a place of misery. Many died within its walls. Their suffering leaves behind unshakable presence. Converted into Shaw Health Hospital in the 1940s and later renamed St. Thomas's Hospital in 1954, it remained a functioning healthcare facility for decades. However, staff avoided the top floor, describing its atmosphere as oppressive and unsettling. When the hospital finally closed in 2004, it's kind of recent, its haunted reputation only grew stronger. With a long history of suffering and loss, it's no surprise that ghost stories and eerie encounters have become synonymous with St. Thomas's Hospital. In 1915, Amy Lee Brown captured a terrifying photograph showing a spectral figure standing behind a friend near an elevator. Some believe this ghost could be a doctor from the hospital's past, still lingering in the place where he worked or perhaps died. Described as a radiant woman in white, she has been seen gliding through the dimly lit hallways. Some believe she's a former nurse or a nun, still watching over souls of the hospital. Are these spirits truly lingering, or are they echoes of the hospital's past, replaying over and over? Visitors and paranormal investigators frequently report unexplained noises that seem to mirror the hospital's chaotic history. Footsteps and shuffling sounds heard above. Even the building is completely empty. Moans and muffled screams, particularly in the women's wing, the former lunatic asylum. These sounds hint at the agony of the past, as if the walls still hold echoes of suffering. One of the most dominant presence at Thomas is Annie, a female spirit frequently encountered in the women's wing. Hostile towards men, Annie directs her presence at male visitors, making them feel unwelcome. Mediums have identified her spirit, but little is known about her life and why her anger lingers so strongly. Well, you know. Was she a former patient who suffered abuse, or is her story even darker? Beyond ghostly sightings and eerie sounds, St. Thomas's is also known for violent poltergeist encounters. During a seance conducted by the most haunted team, a glass was hurled across the room with force. Investigators frequently heard loud knocks and thuds, and sometimes so powerful that they shake the walls. Some believe this could be the work of an aggressive spirit or something even darker. With such intense poltergeist activity, St. Thomas's isn't just haunted, it's alive with energy. St. Thomas's rise to national fame when it featured on the British TV series The Most Haunted in 2007. The episode described the building as alive with spiritual activity, drawing even more interest. The show's authenticity has been debated, but St. Thomas's haunted reputation remains unshaken. Many claim that the spirits of overworked nurses and suffering patients still haunt the building. Some believe that ghostly echoes of medical emergencies replay in the abandoned hallways. Whatever the truth, St. Thomas's has become a staple of England's most haunted locations. Will the St. Thomas's be reborn, or will its haunted legacy continue? St. Thomas's Hospital is more than an abandoned building. It's a time capsule of suffering, death, and unexplained phenomena. From the spirit of Annie and the ghostly doctor to the violent poltergeist activity, its history refuses to be forgotten.
Interesting. So from England, we're going just a little north, I think, Scotland. It's called Raven Spark Asylum. Once a poorhouse, military site, and a psychiatric hospital, it has become a hotspot for ghostly activity. Originally opening in 1858 as the Cunningham Combination Poorhouse, Raven Spark was meant to provide refuge for the poor, mentally ill, and abandoned souls. Conditions were harsh, and many who died were buried in unmarked graves, their families unable or unwilling to claim them. After serving military purposes during World War I, it became Raven Spark Hospital in 1958, specializing in psychiatric and geriatric care. But when the facility closed in 1996, its dark energy remained. Since its closure, Raven Spark has drawn paranormal investigators, including ghost hunters of Scotland, whose findings were nothing short of chilling. Visitors and investigators have documented terrifying encounters including phantom footsteps echoing through the empty hallways, whispered voices, and loud, unexplained door slams, equipment malfunctions, and erratic EMF readings believed to be paranormal interference. Among the many spirits said to haunt Raven Spark, a few stand out. The one is thought to be a ghost of Peter Brown, a former resident with a childlike mind, known for following investigators and playfully making his presence known. Some visitors feel a tug on their clothing or hear giggles echoing down the hall. A silent, somber presence believed to be a young boy tied to a wheelchair. Oh, that's sad. Most often seen or felt in the old physiotherapy room. His tragic energy lingers, making visitors feel an overwhelming sense of sadness and despair. Not all spirits at Raven Spark are gentle, known for slamming doors to block investigators as if still maintaining hospital authority from beyond the grave. Some investigators heard a deep, stern voice telling them to leave immediately. With spirits like these, Raven Spark is not just haunted, it's active. Beyond apparitions, voices, Raven Spark is notorious for its violent poltergeist phenomenon. Doors slam shut violently, sometimes trapping visitors inside rooms. Batteries drain, leaving visitors without power. Objects mysteriously move, with some even being thrown across the room. Many visitors report unsettling sensation of being watched or even touched by unseen forces. In 2003, a shocking discovery shook the Raven Spark community. Human remains were uncovered during a redevelopment. These bones, believed to be from unmarked pauper graves, halted construction. Forensic archaeologists identified over a dozen individuals forgotten in life and nearly lost in death. By 2013, the remains were interred with a memorial headstone in their honor. But some of the locals wonder, had all the remains truly been found, or do more forgotten souls still lie beneath? The parallels to the movie Poltergeist are chilling. Raven Spark is now a home to luxury housing developed by Dundas Estates. Marketing materials boast of beaches, golf course, and scenic views, but make no mention of the graves once on the property. Paranormal enthusiasts speculate that spirits of Raven Spark may not have been appeased by the redevelopment. Similarities to poltergeist don't end with the unmarked grave. Some of the nearby residents report eerie occurrences such as fleeting shadows moving through their homes, unexplained chills, and sudden drops in temperature, and a constant feeling of being watched. The others believe the souls of Raven Spark remain restless, their stories still unfinished. Did the redevelopment disturb the spirits, or were they never at rest to begin with? Raven Spark Asylum stands as a haunting reminder of forgotten lives, an institutional mistreatment, and spirits who refuse to be ignored. Will Raven Spark's ghost ever be at peace? I would not want to live in the luxury community. You're going to always have hauntings and stuff.
They got a golf course.
That place is good.
Run on that golf course at night.
Right. Mm-hmm. Not about to golf at night. No thanks.
Well, you will be the golf ball.
So from tragic legacies of the Danvers State to the haunted corridors of Old Changi, these hospitals remind us that some stories refuse to rest. Whether they're echoes of suffering or proof of the paranormal, they challenge us to confront the darker side of humanity's past. So thank you for joining us on Half Haunted. Until next time, stay curious and stay half haunted.